What is up, friends, and welcome back to From the Mind of Dick. I am your host, Kid Rock. I am your host, Dick, and welcome back, guys. I took a little break, as most of you know. I decided that maybe podcasting wasn't for me anymore, and I actually made a decision that I wasn't going to do it anymore. But here I am. I'm back, and I'll get into that. The last episode of Useless Information, we went into that a little bit, and then we started getting more into like men's mental health and stuff like that, and just mental health in general. And the reason that's important is because I was raised in a way where you weren't supposed to feel emotions. You weren't supposed to be a little bitch. And I'm not a little bitch, but at times I feel like it, and I feel like things get to me when they shouldn't. And I felt like podcasting was just causing more of that feeling like I wasn't good enough. And that's something I suffer with. I guess you can say it's a problem I have is not feeling like anything I do is worth anything, and like not feeling good enough for the people that I care about or the world in general. Just like I'm not important. And everyone needs to realize that you are important in every single way. At least, even if you're important to just one person, you're important. And I'll guarantee you, pretty much every single person that is in this world is important to at least one person. That's all that matters. And in my life, I feel like I am important. I have a lot of people that care about me, and I need to remember that. And when it came to podcasting, I said, nobody gives a shit. And this is something that's happened before. The first few episodes I did just blew up, and I was like, hell yeah, my friends care. You know, people care about this. People want to see this. And I had great reaction. And every episode that I did in the beginning, even though it was just audio and it was shitty audio because I was trying to learn how to do it, I was recording everything on Logic just to try to figure out how to do this and practice it, basically. So the first episodes, if you go back and listen to them, they weren't great. And I was talking about a lot of cool shit, but like the quality was shit. And some of them had really bad audio. Some of them were decent, but I've learned a little better, and still it's shitty because I do things punk rock, but it's getting better. Like, as you can probably see, if you're watching, which most people aren't, I am doing this a different way. I'm doing it on my phone instead of on the computer because the phone has a better camera. I feel like I can get better angles. I can get better reels out of it. I can do everything better. And what I noticed when we did the last episode of Useless Information, I was talking to Danny, and he does his stuff on his phone, and the quality is always so much better, and it just looks better. And even when he does a reel from that, like takes a clip from that, it looks so much better than mine do, because the camera on my laptop is shit, and it's an old laptop, and I'm having issues with it, and then I'll have delays, stuff like that, and it's just crap. So I'm gonna start doing it on my phone because it has better quality, and then I have other ways of editing the audio and stuff like that, because the audio through the phone doesn't sound great, but I have ways of fixing that. So I'm trying something new. I'm innovating. I'm trying to get better. And that's what I've done over the course of the 3 years or whatever that I've been doing this podcasting, is trying to make it better, trying to get better with it. I found a spot with better lighting. I got a different room. I got a better background. I'm starting to do things a little better. And I'm doing all that, and the amount of people listening is going down. And I'm like, why am I even trying? This is stupid. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Because when you start to do something and you really want people to like it, and you really want people to get into it, and they don't, someone like me who's been made to feel like I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough, that affects me in a really bad way. And that's what was happening, is I was getting to a point where like I'm trying all these things and doing all these things to get better and make it better and make it more interesting, and doing these really super interesting podcasts and really funny podcasts with Danny, and nobody gives a shit. And so I'm just like, fuck, man, what do I have to do? And then I got to a point where I was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. You know, nobody cares. I don't fucking care. You know, I got other things to do in my life. So I decided that when my daughters came to visit, I was going to stop podcasting. That was it. It was done. And I told Danny I want to take a break, and I don't know if I'm ever going to do it again. And he was super supportive. He was like, bro, whatever you need, I'm here. And that's a friend right there. It doesn't go like, come on, bro. Like, I want to like, don't be dumb. Don't be a bitch. You know, he was like, bro, whatever you need. And that's a friend right there. That's a good friend that's going to sit there and support you no matter what decision you make. So during that time, I decided that I was having issues with like, I was honestly having issues with not going nuts in my brain when something goes wrong. And I touched on this in the episode with Danny that we just did. If you haven't checked that out, go listen to it. It's on both of our platforms. It's useless information number, double digit 10. It's the 10th episode we've done. And I touched on it a little bit where I talked about fixing my car. And I went nuts in my head when my car broke down, because my car broke down with my oldest daughter, June, and Kayla, my 15, almost 16-year-old. We were going to a concert, and I was so excited because they were so excited to go, and they love the band Pierce the Veil, and they just really were so excited. And then my car breaks down halfway there. And I'm like, that's when it all started. I started flipping out. I was like, how the fuck are we going to get there? My fiance was like, call an Uber, figure it out. We got this. And got an Uber, got to the concert. And then the weather during that time was just shit. It was just windy and dusty for like the whole time June was here. And I'm like, the weather's never like this. It's usually really nice. And she was getting dust in her contacts and the weather was shit. And we tried to go do stuff and the weather was just shit the whole time. And I was like, I'm sorry. And I felt bad. And I lost my shit the whole weekend because I was like, fuck, man. And like the Saturday she was here, I was trying to get my car taken care of pretty much for half the day and trying to figure out how to get it not sitting on the street to some kind of shop to get it evaluated, which cost me like $100 just for them to tell me my radiator blew. I fucking knew that. So that was a waste of money. And then I had to get it towed, which luckily I got a buddy that owns a towing company, or that works at a towing company. I don't know. And he decided that he was going to give me a little bit of a discount. So I got hooked up on that, but still it was like, fuck, man, I had to deal with all this shit. And I was like, fuck, man, what do I do? And I had people around me saying, dude, it's chill. And my fiance was like, I've never seen you like this. Like, you're flipping the fuck out. Like, I've never seen you like this. And so I decided that I had to figure something out mentally so that this doesn't happen. Like every once in a while I get down. I wouldn't say I'm depressed, but every once in a while I get down and I'm like, okay, I don't know how to deal with this. And so I decided to go to therapy. And therapy in the past for me has been a bad experience. And I really am against it because of that, because it's been a really bad experience for me. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do this shit anymore. But I said, you know what? I'm going to try it another time because I feel like I need coping skills to be able to handle when things go wrong. And just to be honest, the last 2 therapy sessions I've had have been kind of bullshit, and I'm starting to get frustrated, but I'm going to continue to pursue it. But I feel like the whole thing was I came to a realization, and that's important. When you realize, hey, things go wrong, you have to learn how to deal with them. And for me, that's always the way it is like I come to realizations and I realize, okay, I can deal with this myself. Not a lot of people can do that. I feel like I have the power inside my brain, inside my noggin, inside the whatever's going on in there to fucking figure it out. So that's the goal now, is to figure that shit out. When things go wrong or things don't go the way you want them to, don't just be like, fuck this and be done and like go crazy. Take a breath and figure it out. And that's what I'm working on now. Okay. So that's the big thing I'm working on now. And yeah, I'll probably go to more therapy, do stuff like that. But like right now, what I'm working on is how to deal with problems when they go wrong. So that's why I'm back. That's the main reason I'm back podcasting, because I can't just give up and be like, fuck this shit. It's not going the way I want it to. So fuck it. So that's why I said, okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I got some chill lights going on in the background. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to do things in a different way, try to continue to innovate and continue to try to make it better for myself and make it a better fucking deal with this podcasting. So I'm going to continue with useless information. We're still going to do it like every other week. So we'll probably have one come out next week. I'm just going to keep going hard with it. Like, fuck it, man. Like, I have to learn how to deal with this shit instead of just running away from it. And so that's why I'm back, guys. That's why I'm back. I took a little break to try to figure my shit out. And I'm not saying that's the last break I'm going to take. Summertime, I like to just focus on my kids. And I had such a great summer just with my daughters here. And then, like I said, my oldest daughter, June, came to visit for a little bit, and it was super fun. Even though the weather was shit, we did some fun shit. And it was a good summer. And I had a great time, and I was really high spirits. Work has been great. I got promoted again, so now I got to where I wanted to be. I worked my ass off to just get back to where I wanted to be. I stepped down from it for about a year and a half, and now I'm back. I transferred stores, and now I'm back to being the grocery manager, which is where I wanted to be. It's a lot more stress, but I feel so much different about it now, and I feel like I can handle it a little better. And I feel like I'm doing way better because I'm not freaking out every day. Even if I get in trouble, I'm just kind of like, okay, I got this. Just fix it, just make it better. So where before I would lose my shit, but I'm not doing that anymore. So that's good news. I'm doing way better at work, which is great because we have a wedding to pay for. Those of you who know, I got engaged in December, and we're wedding planning. We're going through all that stuff, and it's kind of stressful, but at the same time, it's fun. Like, we've been trying to pick a venue, and we did pick a venue. So we found one. We actually put a deposit down on it. So we're like, it's official. Like, we're actually getting married. I will be sending out save the dates to those who will be invited. Please don't get hurt if you're not invited. I basically am just sending them out to family, and then extremely close friends. So don't get frustrated if you're not invited. I love you just the same, but we have a limited amount of space, and my fiance has a ginormous fucking family, which is amazing. I wish I had a family that big. I wish that all my cousins and stuff were all close together, which I barely talk to my cousins. I have one cousin that I really talk to, but she talks to all her 100 cousins, and on both sides of her family, she has tons of cousins, and it's just amazing. And I love that. I love that to death that she has such a big family. So her family is like, I'd say over 2/3 of who's going to be there. And I'm just inviting, very close friends and family. So if you're not invited, doesn't mean you're not my friend. It just means that maybe we haven't hung out or talked in years, and it doesn't mean I don't love you. But we're kind of breaking down the guest list, so we kind of keep it under 100 people. And right now we're at 120. So it's like, it's kind of hard. We want to keep it under 100, and because it's expensive. So we're paying for it ourselves. So it's kind of rough. And, but because of the fact that I got promoted, it's going to be a little better because, I will have a little bit more money. So it's fine. And we're going to make it happen. So it's going to be not going to be till next year. So, we have lots of time, but, so that's the good news. And the wedding planning is going well. It's stressful. Like I said, we have a photographer. I think we found a DJ. So that's all taken care of. We're trying to figure out the food part of things. We want to go with like a barbecue type food because that's what we both love the most. And who doesn't love barbecue? So we're kind of going with that. So we're going to try to figure that part out. We want to get all the deposits in and lock in the date. And I will announce the date later, on probably social media, stuff like that. Soon I'll announce the date. I just want to make sure everything's good, and that's exactly the date. I don't want to just do everything premature. So that's what's going on with the wedding planning. I'm excited about it, man. Like, we're like there, right? We're like right there. So we can just kind of, start paying, right? Just start paying for everything, like making payments and everything. So then by the time the wedding does happen, we'll have everything paid off, and we have lots of time to pay it off and get everything ready. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, it's super cool. Super cool. I'm just really happy that, I have a person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And even though that may not be very long because I'm old as fuck, I just turned 48, last week. And that hit me kind of hard. Turning 48 is close to 50, and 50 seems old as fuck to me. I'm doing this in the morning, so I'm drinking my coffee still. But 48 seems extremely old. But the thing that made me feel even more old isn't that I'm close, like 2 years away from 50. I talked to June, and she was like, yeah, I can't believe I'm 27. And in 3 years, I'm going to be 30. And I'm like, fuck. That made me feel more old. And the fact that my youngest, Zoe is starting high school. So my youngest kid, the last one, might be another one. We still haven't decided yet, but could be. It could happen. But the last kid, the youngest kid, is now starting high school. So it's like, what the hell? It's crazy. So that made me feel more old. is feeling that I have an almost 30-year-old and my baby started high school. So anyway, so I will move on to the next subject. So while I was on my break, and this is probably old news by now, but it's something I wanted to talk about a little bit. While I was on my little break, we lost a couple legends, and I wanted to talk about how they were in my life, because you may be surprised. The first one I want to talk about is the legend, Ozzy Osbourne passed away. And I mean, he was, what, 78, 76? How old was Ozzy when he passed? I don't remember. Anyway, he was like 76. But I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I forgot. Anyway, he was definitely a legend. I want to go over some of his accolades. I have them here. Some of the stuff that he did in his career. And then I want to get into how I learned of Ozzy, and this is what you'll probably be surprised about. But, he was definitely a heavy metal pioneer with Black Sabbath. And, I would say one of the very first, if not the first, heavy metal bands. And, with Black Sabbath, here's how I found Black Sabbath. I'd probably heard the song before, but never really paid attention. And in the 90s, I heard, Ozzy with his solo stuff. And I didn't know who he was. I watched MTV a lot, and, he would come out with like No More Tears and Mama, I'm Coming Home. And I really liked those songs. Right. And I didn't know really much else about him. And that's what is surprising. Like me with my, playing in bands and stuff like that and learning how to play guitar, you would think that I would know Ozzy, but I really wasn't into metal. I started out getting into, punk rock, and Ozzy wasn't a part of that. Right. And so I just heard these songs, but I did like those songs, and I knew those songs. I used to see the videos for them, and I just thought they were great. But I was at someone's house, and they were, one of the first riffs I learned was, Smoke on the Water. And then another riff that people learn is Iron Man, right? That's one of the main, when you're learning how to play guitar, that's one of the main things you learn how to play. For me, when I was learning how to play guitar, I learned how to play like Nirvana and Green Day, because I had books that had those in them, that had tablature in them. So I learned how to play like everything in those books. And I had the Metallica album, right? Metallica Black Album book that I kind of tried to learn some of those songs, but those are a little more complicated. So I just never really, got into it. And that was as metal as it got for me, was Metallica's Black Album. I didn't know anything else before that. And then someone played Iron Man. I don't remember who it was, but they played Iron Man, and expecting me to play, let's play this. And they started playing. I was like, what is that? That's pretty cool. Like, you don't know Iron Man? You don't know Black Sabbath? And I'm like, no, what is that? And they were so surprised that I didn't know what that was, being a guitar player, being like a punk rock guy, I guess, and you got to know Black Sabbath, right? But I had no clue what it was. I had no clue what that riff was. I'd never heard it before. Maybe I'd heard it, but it just never stuck in my head. And I was just like, I don't know what that is. And they're like, what? How do you not know Ozzy? How do you not know Black Sabbath? I just don't, man. I really don't. So that was when I first heard it. And then, I had to look into it, and I liked it. I thought it was good. And, there was a movie that, me and my buddies used to watch. It was called, The Stoned Age. And it was an old movie that was about these stoners that were, just looking to party, right? Basically, that's it. They're looking to score chicks and party. And it was just this stupid stoner movie that I thought was hilarious. And it started out where they're in this car driving and they're playing Paranoid. And I heard that song. Didn't know it was Black Sabbath. And I had no clue. And so that's where, I first kind of heard Ozzy. Okay. Was, Mama, I'm Coming Home and No More Tears, those songs. And then put two and two together, realized, he was in this band called Black Sabbath. And I heard these songs. Like, okay. So it was just like, whatever. It was Ozzy. I mean, I figured like, he's a great, I hear all these things like he's a legend and he started this blah, blah, blah. I didn't know his music. I didn't really care. I thought he had a great voice. Didn't really care. And then one time I was hanging out with my buddy Marcus, and I remember this, like we're sitting there playing guitar together, and he starts busting out with the riff from Crazy Train. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, you don't know fucking Crazy Train? You don't know fucking Ozzy? And I'm like, no, dude, this is the second time this has happened. I didn't know fucking Iron Man either. And he was like, what the fuck, dude? What have you been listening to? What have you been playing? And I'm playing like Nirvana and Green Day. And so he's like, what is this? And I'm playing these songs that I wrote. And that's because I just like playing original shit that I wrote. I didn't really like playing other people's music. So I didn't really learn a lot of it. I just played my stuff, and he was just going nuts because he's like, bro, you got to listen to this. And he pulled out a tape and started putting it on. He started playing along with it. And I didn't really like it. Honestly, to this day, like Crazy Train's a good song. It's okay, but it's not like, I'm like, oh my God, it's like one of the best songs ever. It's kind of cheesy in a way to me. It really kind of is. It's really a cheesy song to me. And a lot of the stuff that Ozzy did to me was kind of cheesy. Black Sabbath is amazing, and I've got into them a little more and liked them. But if you really think about it, some of the stuff Ozzy put out was not dark or deep or anything. I mean, Bark at the Moon was a great song. It was kind of deep and kind of like where you can get kind of dark. But to call him the Prince of Darkness, he's got that look. But the songs, the music, it's kind of like Kiss to me, where they're got this makeup and this dark look, but they're not really like their music isn't dark and like it's cheesy, and all that stuff is cheesy to me. And so I compare like Ozzy to like Kiss and like Alice Cooper, where like they got this dark look, but the music isn't dark. So that's what it was with Ozzy. Was like, I was like, okay, well, he's a heavy metal pioneer. He's, he had a great solo career where he had a lot of records. He's, in the Hall of Fame, which he deserves. But I was never into him. I never really cared, And when I started caring about Ozzy was when he started doing the Osbournes. And that's when I started watching Ozzy. I was like, I love watching like train wreck shows, and it was funny to me. It was good. And I watched the Osbournes all the time. They'd have like, and I think it was MTV that they would just, when they started just playing reality TV instead of playing music videos, and they played the Osbournes nonstop. And it would be on all the time. And I just watched it all the time. And I was obsessed. I just loved it. And to have this rock icon that you just look at as this one type of person, see his home life and like meet his kids and all this stuff, right? And I thought it was amazing. I thought it was great. So that's when I started getting into Ozzy, and not even his music, just Ozzy himself. And I think he's a legend for doing the Osbournes, and that's about it to me in my eyes. Like he's a TV reality star to me. I never got into his music. I never really listened to his music in my car. Didn't really care. I've never done that, because when I listen to music, it's in my car. And if I'm cleaning, those are the two times I listen to music. I don't just sit there and listen to music. I can't do that. I have to be like in my car. And that's when I listen to most of the music is in my car. And I've never once like put on Crazy Train and been like, yeah. I mean, if I hear it, I know it. And I think it's a great riff, but I think it's cheesy in a way. Like it's not heavy. It's not dark. It's a great riff. It's a great song, but it's just not dark or metal really. So that's my take on Ozzy. I mean, he kind of was someone who I understood why he was a legend, but to me, in my life, in my world, he wasn't a legend to me. He was just someone that was there and iconic, yes. And one of my favorite things, and this is always going to be my favorite Ozzy moment, is when they're standing there looking at the stage, and I don't remember what it was one of his concerts, and him and Sharon are standing there, and he's looking at the stage, and he sees Bubbles, and he's like, what the fuck is this, Sharon? Bubbles? I'm the Prince of fucking Darkness, and there's fucking Bubbles? And that made me laugh my ass off. Still to this day when I see that, that's fucking Ozzy right there. He's like, but I'm the Prince of fucking Darkness, and there's fucking Bubbles. And that was funny to me. But so that's my take on Ozzy. And then it's an unpopular opinion for a lot of people, but not a big fan of his music. No More Tears is a great song, and I like it. Legendary, no. That's about all I can say. Mama, I'm Coming Home is an iconic song, and I love it. And it's an amazing song, but legendary, I don't know. But I do get it. So anyway, rest in peace, Ozzy. One more thing I wanted to touch on that was, and then I'll just leave it at this when it comes to Ozzy. So they had this last concert planned for a long time, years, I think, knowing that his health was deteriorating and he could go at any time, right? They knew this and they had it planned. And the show was great. All these iconic bands, all these major, like I loved watching all the clips of it. And then watching Ozzy's performance was just tear jerking, because he wanted to get up and sing, but he knew he couldn't. He wanted to get up and go around the stage like he does, which always, to me, his performances have always been kind of cheesy. Like he doesn't know how to do that, but his voice. And seeing all this, And then seeing like the clip of, I don't know if you saw it, but the clip of Zach Wilde playing, and then Ozzy was singing, he realized he was struggling. So he grabbed his stuff, moved it all over to a microphone, and then started singing with them to help him. That was amazing to me. That was like showing like, hey man, I got you. And I loved that clip. But then he passes away a couple weeks later. It's like you wait all this time and you're just hold on all this time for this last show. You do it. And then you say, now it's my time to go. I did it. And now it's my time to go. But how does that happen? Did he just give up, or did he just like, it's so weird to me, but that's Ozzy, you know? And he held on, and he said, it's my time to go. I can go now. I put on my last performance, which his whole life was music. His entire life was music. And regardless of the drugs, the craziness, which is what basically made him a legend, regardless of all that, he was a performer and he was a musician, and he put on that one last show, and then he was done. And that's where you got to look, is like, thank you, Ozzy, for everything. You know, you're an icon and someone who who influenced music a lot. There wouldn't be a lot of these bands that play today if it wasn't for you. So thank you for that. Even though I have said, like, I've never really been a big fan, I do respect it. Thank you, Ozzy, for everything. Rest in peace. Okay, the next one I wanted to get into, another death that happened while I was on my little break, was the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan. And the weird part about this is, like, he was a massive just man and massive character, massive person in general. And he was always promoting health. And even though I know he was probably doing steroids and shit like that, and he was exercise and all that stuff to be in shape and be as big as he is. And he was younger than Ozzy when he died. He was like 71. And Ozzy destroyed his body over years and years. And he died older. He lived longer. So that's odd to me. That's kind of weird. But anyway, I grew up watching Hulk Hogan in the 80s and 90s, and I was into WWF back then. You remember, it used to be WWF. And it was something that I really was into back then. I loved watching it. I even watched like the cartoon that came out, and my favorite was always Hulk Hogan. And watching him in like the Rocky movie, stuff like that. And then I even watched his reality show. So I was always a huge fan of Hulk Hogan. And I think even though I knew like wrestling was just super fake, it was so entertaining to me. So I always watched it. And of course, yeah, they were getting hurt, but it was just always scripted. And they always knew what the outcome was going to be. They always knew what was going to happen. And then they just went with it, and they did all these moves, and they didn't try to hurt each other really bad. And just that time where we're like, Hulk should be like that. And then he would, you know, go up to his ear, like people that are just listening, he would do that thing. And then he would just like be shaking, and like the Hulkamania would just be rising. And then he'd just, you know, beat the crap out of whoever he was with, who he was fighting with, and all that. Like, that was just great to me. I just loved it. And how he ended up turning out, where like it was all these scandals with his wife and all that stuff, that all pisses me off. Like, I did watch his reality show for a while, the Hogans, and I just thought it was trash. I didn't really like that one as much as I like the Osbournes, but all in all, like, I wanted to pay a little tribute to Hulk Hogan, because he was, to me, growing up in my life, he was a part of my childhood. And there was a time where we used to play wrestling, and I always wanted to be Hulk Hogan. And I always used to say, I have blonde hair. I could be Hulk Hogan, because he had his bleached blonde hair. And at the time when I was a kid, my hair was that color. So I was like, I have to be Hulk Hogan because I have blonde hair. So, you know, and I'd wear a bandana and be like, okay, I'm Hulk Hogan. And he was always the one I wanted to be. And he was always my favorite wrestler, WWF, WWE. He was always the icon for me, the number one. And when I thought of wrestling, it was him, 100%. I hated it when he became a villain, became a bad guy. I hated that, because that's not him. And that's not the guy. The guy that the icon in wrestling was, the red and yellow, the real American. That was the guy. And he was the wrestler out of all of them. When you think of wrestling, you think of Hulk Hogan. So I just wanted to pay a little tribute to him, because yeah, I know I don't really talk about wrestling because it wasn't really something that I'm into anymore. But as a kid growing up and as a teenager, I watched Hulk Hogan all the time, and I loved Hulk Hogan. So with that, that's really all I'm going to touch on Hulk Hogan. He was the shit, and rest in peace, Hulkster. But yeah, that's basically all I got for this show, for this episode is, paying tribute to those guys, and then, letting you know why I decided not to do podcasting anymore. But I will be back. The future plans for this show is the last thing I want to talk about. As you can see, I am doing more on my phone than on the computer. I do want to try to do more and figure out more technology, try to put it on more platforms, try to do all that stuff just to see. But I am going to do bi-weekly. I will do an episode every 2 weeks, and I will do useless information on the other week. So 1 week will be Mind of Dick, and the next one will be useless information, because we're just going to keep it going. We're just going to keep rolling with it. And if 5 people listen or 100 people listen, then that's fine. It is what it is. I get that way sometimes, just so you guys know, and I'm pretty sure you already know, I get to where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It sucks. And then I do an episode and 5 people listen, but like, I feel good about doing the episode. I feel great about it. And I feel great about doing this right now. And so I just want to tell you guys, I love you, all you 5 people that religiously listen to this, that are just like big fans and are always texting me saying, hey, why aren't you doing episodes anymore? I love you. Thank you so much. For everybody else, please try to come listen and just take a half hour out of your day. Uses information usually goes about an hour, but take a half hour out of your day and come listen to me. I kind of interesting, I guess. I think so. But just come take a listen. And for those of you that listen all the time, share it with your friends. Please try to help me out and get a little bit more people listening and a little bit more people caring, and do it for your friend, because I love you and I appreciate everything you do for me. Thank you guys so much. That's going to be it for this episode, and hopefully everybody has a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week on Useless Information. That's it for Dick. Peace.